we are messing around with the S2000 again. We're going to do some more intake testing. A lot of people asked about the paper filter from the factory S2000 and a factory box. So we're going to do that. What the hell? So here we go. We have an uncut S2000 AirBox right here with this channel. Keep in mind, the intake filter comes here, the filter goes here, then there is almost a box with a piece that goes here, allowing the air to cross over. This is a rough one, but this is what we consider the AirBox mod. Basically just makes it completely open, allows more air around the filter. Again, we think this works. We're gonna test it and see. We have a paper filter. Thanks, Mark, for dropping that off. I put a post up on Facebook. Look at that, it's an almost new one too. We have a K&N filter. It's not a brand new one, but it's in good shape. We're going to do a backup test with our Comptech AirBox. I'm not going to pretend anything. I'm not trying to sell it, even though it is for sale. This is a foam filter. I've never had good luck with these. These tend to dry rot, fall apart. Guess where all these particles go? You guessed it. So this will be for sale, even though I don't think it's worth the money. I will sell it to you if you really want to buy it. Let's test the factory AirBox first with the paper filter. Then we'll do it with the K&N. Then we'll swap out to the AirBox mod with the K&N, finish up with that one. So I'll keep this video moving fairly quickly, just so it doesn't get boring. But right now, factory AirBox, factory paper filter, AirBox is unmolested, nothing cut out. We'll bring it up to temperature, do 4th gear run. We'll do two, and that way we can average all of them. Factory AirBox, K&N intake, filter, nothing else changes. You will notice it's louder with the AirBox mod. By removing the baffles in here and deleting the resonator, that's where you get the additional sound. This is just resonance only. I'll show you more results in a minute, but look at this on the bottom. This is AirBox mod versus no AirBox mod. Everything else on top, very minimal gain, but it's a gain. On a car that's making so consistent power, it's great to see this. So we're going to take this off right now and put the Comptech back on just so we can verify the results from earlier. But this is still my favorite setup. It's got the factory AirBox. It's forced to draw air from here. It's sealing the heat from here. You've got no ducting in there to block sound and change sound waves. It's just a functional AirBox right now. So to help understand how good the factory intake is, now a lot of people see this and a lot of manufacturers tell you that this has some kind of acoustic wave change technology in there. The engine is like an animal, it breathes. The more things you put in its way, the harder it is for it to breathe. This is super simple. Think of it as this way. You've got a tube that's as smooth as possible with a filter on the end. We've got a tube as smooth as possible with a gradual increase in diameter with a high flow filter on the end. There is nothing to bounce air around in here. All we're doing is allowing the engine to get as much surrounding air as possible, and it's forced in through the coolest area. That's it. That's why this AirBox works so good. By changing the length of this, changing the diameter has almost no effect on it unless there is a restriction. Story I told in the past, I want to tell it again. I had someone contact me and said, will you run a dyno? I have an intake I'm going to develop. I'm going to supply the car. I want to rent a dyno and your time for 8 hours, and I'm going to do a whole bunch of intake testing. So this guy brought a whole bunch of tubes with connectors, and his idea was something to do with the length, something to do with the diameter. There was like a frequency that goes through the tube, and that frequency, if you time it to the right spot, makes the maximum power. And I was interested to see these results too, and of course I'm getting paid just to sit on a dyno and set the dyno up. And we went from, and he took notes, took temperature notes, he had all this categorized. He went from basically an intake filter on the throttle body all the way to something like 8 feet, just because he wanted to measure this sound wave. And it was kind of interesting, and it was sad at the end because I showed him these dyno results and it varied like 2 horsepower from one to the other. But to see this difference do absolutely nothing, I mean, it pretty much, you know, burst his bubble, killed his dream, and cost him a few $100 for that day. And he went home with a bunch of plastic bends and a filter and never heard from him again. Based on that, we're going to do some runs with the hood down, just as I've mentioned in the past. Somebody asked about it too. Hey, why don't you do it with the hood down when there's no airflow forced over the engine? So we're going to do that at the end too. Ready? So we're keeping our timed intervals the same. Nice thing about leaving everything loose on the AirBox, we could switch it pretty quick, keep the engine and air temperature consistent. We're going to do this run. We'll do 2 runs with the intake, confirm our results. Then we're going to do some hood down testing, do some torture tests, get the motor really hot, do run after run after run. Quick back to back. I wanted to show you this. This is the same results we got the first time. Red is the Comptech, blue is the AirBox with the AirBox mod. See how it made more all the way through, but then as they cross, the Comptech box made a little bit right here, and then as it builds, the AirBox mod make more power again with the K&N filter. So it's just interesting right here, there is some wave in that intake that's making a slight difference. Let's do another run, we'll back it up. Same results again. This was nice, it's so consistent, 223.4, 223.5. Again, this is so nice to have a car that's so consistent and a dyno that is actually in perfect condition that will measure 1/10 of a horsepower. So now we're going to do some hood down testing. We'll do some back-to-back runs. We'll do 3 runs with the hood down, then put the AirBox, 3 runs with the hood down. We'll do that and see what kind of heat soak we're getting. See what we're going to get. We'll do 1 run just as it sits with the hood down, and then we're going to do back-to-back runs, get it nice and hot, and we'll put the factory box back in, do the same thing. Ready? Hood down, fan blowing on the front. Let's simulate you doing 30 miles an hour. .220, 157, hood down. Now we're just going to let it sit here for 5 minutes, leave the fan running, and do a run right away, see what kind of heat soak we get. Alright, 5 minutes have passed. We'll just let it sit and idle. Now we're going to do our 3rd run. Heat soak on that one, pretty much 10 horsepower everywhere, and again that's heat soak, that's letting it run. While it's running, let's do a 4th run. Now it's our chance to cool down the box. Let's see what it does now. thing. You see this? This is where I think our AirBox is going to shine. Factory AirBox back in with the K&N filter and the AirBox mod. And kick the fan on. Do 2 runs back to back, then do a 5-minute heat soak with the hood down. All right, ready to go. All right, 222, 154. Again, hood down. Gonna do another back-to-back run right away while they're still hot. Now don't forget, go to the website, buy your used AirBox today. Just kidding. I ain't got AirBoxes. I should do. Leave it idling. Let's set a timer. Hey Siri, set a timer for 5 minutes. And then we'll run it back to back.
Counting down.
See what we're doing. We're gonna leave it sitting just like this. All right, time is up. Time to do our backup run. All right, you ready? So first 2 runs, 222, 218. We're gonna do our heat soak run. Do another run back to back. There you go, 218. I mean, that was the first run, second run, heat soak, backup run heat soak. There's your AirBox mod right there. It's within like 5 or 6 horsepower. Hopefully you found those results interesting. It's good to kind of back up some of the claims that I've been talking about for years with this AirBox mod and the K&N filter. I'm basically sticking with the factory parts. Dyno operators will often manipulate the results. They'll put ice bags on here and put leaf blowers under here. I've even heard stories and seen stories of people cracking a bottle of nitrous 20 feet away. It's not going to make massive power, but you'd be surprised the engine ingests a certain amount of nitrous and you'll pick up a false 5-10 horsepower. One time I saw it where it picked up like 50. Wasn't good results, but by keeping the results back to back and unbiased, we can actually see what happens. But hopefully the owner of this car, by the time you see this video, the owner is enjoying this car. It's been a great test mule. The fact that the results are almost identical is really consistent. It shows you how good the car is. So again, this is the car we call the Silver Dancer. If you watch the video on the build, you'll see why. Coming to the end of a day, we do a lot of this stuff after hours in our own time, so do us a huge favor, give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe and share. The more our video grows, the more we can do this stuff in the future. Hopefully you're getting some good insight from what we're doing and it's saving you some money. If we see you at the CRX meet, Honda's to Orlando on November 21st, come by and say hi. Hopefully this video goes up beforehand. If not, hopefully you went and you had a great time. I will be driving a very special car. I'm gonna be working some extra hours to try and get that car ready because it needs some attention and it really has to go to that meet. You'll see that in a separate video. But in the meantime, enjoy your car and more importantly, enjoy your AirBox mod.